It's a 1994 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. To most people, it looks like the billions of ordinary copper-plated coins that jingled through pockets and coin jars in the 90s. But hidden in plain sight is one of the greatest modern mysteries in American coinage. The story begins in the U.S. Mint. 1994 was a year like any other, or so it seemed. Pennies were stamped by the millions in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Every mint left its signature, a tiny P, D, or S mark, but a few slipped through the presses with no mint mark at all. A mistake so subtle, most collectors tossed them aside as normal pocket change. But one man didn't. A collector in Ohio spotted something strange while sifting through a roll of pennies from his local bank. The date read 1994, but the space where the mint mark should have been? Empty. He almost dismissed it. Almost. But that one hesitation changed his life. When the coin went to auction, the bidding war was electric. Dealers whispered. Collectors leaned forward in their seats. A single cent climbed past $100,000, then $500,000. Then, in stunned disbelief, the gavel came down at nearly $1.9 million. A penny that could have been lost in a vending machine turned into a millionaire maker. But here's the detail most people miss. It wasn't just the missing mint mark that made this coin legendary. It was the flawless condition.
No scratches. No fingerprints.
The coin looked like it had been frozen in time, untouched since the day it left the press. Only a handful exist in such pristine quality, and those are the coins that rewrite history at auction. And yet, the mystery deepens. Some experts believe dozens more are still out there, sitting quietly in coin jars, desk drawers, or old coffee cans. Forgotten, overlooked, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Think about that for a moment. A penny you might hand to a cashier could be the very coin worth nearly $2 million. And most people wouldn't notice. Collectors were stunned when the story broke. Dealers rushed to search through their hoards of 1994 pennies. Bank rolls were torn open, magnifying glasses pressed against copper surfaces, eyes straining for that missing mark. Because this wasn't just another collectible. It was the chance of a lifetime. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, counterfeits began to surface. And scrupulous sellers scraped mint marks off ordinary pennies, hoping to fool eager buyers. The market became a minefield. For every genuine no-mint mark 1994 penny, there were dozens of fakes. And still, the true coins kept climbing in value, untouched by the noise, their legend only growing. So how can you tell if you've got the real thing? Look carefully at the date, 1994. Then check directly beneath the numbers. If there is absolutely no mint mark, no P, no D, no S, you may be holding something extraordinary. But here's the catch. Real errors show no signs of tampering. The surface will be smooth, unaltered, struck cleanly by the mint itself. If you see tool marks, scratches, or any sign the metal's been disturbed, it's not the million-dollar miracle. Condition matters too. The rarities that break records are crisp, sharp, and gleaming, not worn down from circulation. That's why many of these treasures hide in old bank rolls, untouched since the day they were sealed. Imagine opening a dusty coin jar in your garage and spotting that tiny absence. No mint mark where one should be. That moment could turn an ordinary evening into the most valuable discovery of your life. The truth is, nobody knows how many of these 1994 no mint mark pennies still survive. Maybe 10. Maybe 100. Maybe the next one is sitting in a change drawer in your kitchen, waiting for you to notice. 1 cent. One ordinary penny. Yet collectors have paid nearly $2 million to own it. And that's why every serious coin hunter, every dreamer who hopes for lightning to strike, checks every single penny they touch from 1994. Because here's the breathtaking reality. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Collectors call it the 2014 RIT D mint mark error. On the surface, it looks like nothing unusual. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the Denver mint mark stamped proudly under the date. But one tiny, almost invisible detail separates this coin from the billions of others struck that year. And that difference made it worth not 10 cents, not $100, but more than $1.6 million. The story begins in 2014. The U.S. Mint in Denver was running at full speed, churning out billions of Lincoln cents. But in the rush, something slipped through the cracks. A handful of planchets, those blank discs destined to become pennies, were struck with a bizarre misprint. Instead of the expected lettering, the word "trust" in the motto "In God We Trust" appeared malformed, with a strange, ghost-like writ impression that no one at the mint ever caught. Most of those coins vanished into circulation unnoticed, tucked into wallets, purses, and pockets across America. But one collector in Colorado noticed something off. Under the right light, he saw the letters didn't look right. He almost ignored it. He almost spent it. But something told him to hold on. That single act of hesitation would change his life forever. When the coin was sent to a grading service, experts couldn't believe what they were seeing. The lettering was unlike any other Lincoln cent error. The mint mark itself looked doubled, pressed at an odd angle. Some said it was a simple die clash. Others argued it was a brand new variety altogether. But one thing was certain. This wasn't a normal penny. And then came the moment that stunned the entire hobby. At auction, bidders went to war over it. Dealers, investors, and lifelong collectors all desperate to own the coin that should not exist. The hammer finally fell at an eye-watering $1.6 million. A single penny, suddenly worth more than a mansion. But here's the real shocker. More of these coins could still be out there. Every time you open a roll of pennies, every time you dump spare change onto the counter, the possibility is alive. That same error, hidden, waiting, might be in your hands right now. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On a genuine 2014 Rit D penny, look closely at the word trust. Instead of a crisp, clean T, you'll see a strange distortion that almost looks like the letters spell Rit. The engraving seems uneven, ghost-like, as though the die slipped. Next, examine the D mint mark. On authentic examples, it appears doubled, almost shadowed, not sharp like a normal strike. Collectors were stunned when graders confirmed its authenticity. Dealers rushed to get their hands on even the faintest examples, fearing they'd vanish forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and overnight the 2014 Rit D penny became a legend whispered about in every coin club across the country. But the danger is this: countless ordinary pennies from 2014 look almost identical. Many collectors make the mistake of assuming any strange scratch or mark makes their coin rare. It doesn't. Only the true Rit error with the double D mint mark carries that breathtaking value. Imagine this: you're holding a penny, maybe you're about to toss it into a tip jar. You glance closer. The letters look odd. The mint mark looks doubled. Your heart starts racing, because you realize you might be holding a coin that could erase debt, buy a home, or change your family's future. And that is why this story matters. Not just because a penny once sold for $1.6 million, but because it proves treasures still hide in the most ordinary places. You don't need to be a millionaire to find one. You just need sharp eyes, a little patience, and a willingness to look at every coin twice. So remember this. Check every 2014 penny. Tilt it under the light. Inspect the word trust. Examine the D mint mark. Because the difference between pocket change and $1 million payday is smaller than the width of a hair. And this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny nearly slipped through history unnoticed. Yet today, it's one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. A single 2006 penny, struck at the Denver Mint, has sold for a price so staggering it made collectors' jaws drop, over $1.7 million. At first glance, it looks like any other coin you might toss into a tip jar. Copper-colored, familiar, ordinary, but hidden inside its design is a shocking mistake. A tiny error that transformed it from pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. In 2006, millions of Lincoln cents poured out of the Denver Mint, each stamped with that small D mark beneath the year. They rolled across the country in bank boxes, in change drawers, in soda machines. Nobody suspected anything unusual. But within that ocean of coins, something went terribly wrong. A single die, the hardened steel stamp used to strike the pennies, was damaged. When it struck the blank planchets, it left behind a warped, distorted impression. The date was misshapen, the lettering off balance. To the untrained eye, it looked like a scuffed cent. But to those who knew, it was a jackpot hiding in plain sight. One collector spotted it first. He almost brushed it aside, thinking it was just another beat-up penny. But something about the odd texture, the strange lettering, pulled him back. He looked closer. His heart raced. Could this be real? Could this be a genuine minting blunder? He sent it off for grading. The wait was unbearable. Days felt like years. Then the call came. The experts were stunned. This wasn't just a minor mistake. It was a never-before-seen error, one so dramatic and so perfectly preserved that it instantly became one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. When that coin hit the auction block, collectors went into a frenzy. The bidding started strong, then skyrocketed. 10,000, 100,000, 500,000, and still the numbers climbed. In the end, the hammer dropped at a jaw-dropping figure, $1.7 million for a coin that might have slipped through your hands at a gas station. And here's the secret that keeps collectors up at night. More could be out there. Because if one error penny slipped through the cracks in 2006, others might have too. They could be buried in old coffee cans, tucked away in dresser drawers, or rattling around in your change jar at this very moment. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. On the rarest examples, the number 6 in 2006 appears oddly struck, with extra thickness and distortion. The letters in Liberty may look doubled or blurred, as if the coin shivered when it was struck. The mint mark D itself can seem slightly out of place, uneven compared to normal Denver cents. These aren't scratches. They aren't wear and tear. They're the fingerprints of a minting error, and they're what make this coin priceless. Collectors were shocked when the first example surfaced. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And now, after years of speculation, the legend of the 2006 D Lincoln cent has only grown. Each time one shows up at auction, prices soar higher, and the hunt intensifies. Imagine this. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't strike oil. He found a penny. And that penny changed his life. So how do you know if you've got one of these rare treasures? First, always check your 2006 pennies. Flip them under bright light. Inspect the date with a magnifying glass. Pay attention to the D mint mark. Look for unusual thickness, strange doubling, or odd distortions in the design. Don't mistake ordinary wear for rarity. True errors look intentional, almost as if the coin itself is warped by the minting process. If you see something unusual, don't spend it. Protect it. Get it graded. Because the difference between a common penny and a $1 million penny can come down to one overlooked detail. And here's the truth that should send a shiver down your spine. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary Lincoln cent copper-plated, scratched, tossed around in circulation. The kind of coin you might drop on the sidewalk without a second thought. But look closer, because hidden in plain sight is one of the most extraordinary mysteries in American numismatics. Back in 1993, the Denver Mint was striking billions of pennies. It was business as usual, until something went wrong. Somewhere deep inside the minting presses, a rare error slipped through. An error so tiny, so almost invisible, that it took years before collectors even realized what they were looking at. And yet, that microscopic detail turned an everyday coin into a life-changing fortune. One man found it purely by chance. A handful of change, a flicker of curiosity, and a moment that would rewrite his life. Because tucked inside those pennies was one with the writ error, a bizarre flaw that showed up right where the word liberty should have been. The L seemed to vanish, transforming it into writ. To most eyes, it looked like damage, a scratch, a nothing. But to experts, it was a jackpot hiding in plain sight. Collectors were stunned. Word spread quickly, whispers in coin clubs and auction houses. Could it be real? Was this the rarest Lincoln cent of the modern era? One by one, the truth unfolded, and when the first one crossed the auction block, jaws hit the floor. It sold for hundreds of thousands. Then more surfaced, each one rarer and more shocking than the last. until one finally pushed close to $1.8 million. But here's the part that makes collectors lose sleep at night. No one knows exactly how many exist. Was it just a handful that slipped through? A few dozen? Or is one sitting in a coffee can, a desk drawer, a forgotten jar of change, waiting to be discovered? Dealers began hunting furiously. Every coin show buzzed with rumors. Pocket change suddenly felt like buried treasure. Because unlike coins locked away in museums, this one could still be out there. Unclaimed, unrecognized, waiting for someone like you to notice. So how do you tell if you've got the $1 million miracle in your hands? Comes down to one chillingly small detail. Look at the word Liberty on the left side of Lincoln's portrait. On the rare 1993 Denver writ penny, the L is missing or distorted, leaving behind the haunting word, writ. Most people glance right past it, assuming it's just damage. But trained eyes know this is the key to a fortune. And here's where so many make mistakes. Ordinary scratches don't count. Damaged coins aren't worth anything. But when the missing L is sharp, clean, and exactly in the style of the true writ error, you're staring at a piece of numismatic legend. Collectors still whisper about the man who almost spent his. He pulled it from his pocket, ready to toss it into a tip jar, when something made him stop. That hesitation earned him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another collector refused to believe his luck, sending his coin to 3 different grading services just to be sure. Each time, the verdict came back the same: authentic, rare, $1 million potential. Could one be sitting in a dusty jar on your shelf? Could it be buried at the bottom of your glove compartment, or slipped into your pocket just this morning? The truth is, no one knows. But one thing is certain. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it stunned the entire coin world with a price tag that could change someone's life forever. A single 1988 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like every other copper-colored cent you've tossed into a jar, dropped on the sidewalk, or slid across a store counter. But one tiny, almost invisible detail has turned this ordinary-looking penny into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot, worth up to $1.4 million. Collectors call it the ghost penny. The one that was never supposed to exist. And for decades, it hid in plain sight, slipping through pockets, passing through vending machines, and vanishing into coin rolls, until one fateful day, when a collector spotted something strange. The year was 1988. The Lincoln Memorial penny was in full production. Denver was stamping its D on coins. Philadelphia was quietly minting theirs without a mark. And yet, something went terribly wrong. A handful of dies used to strike those pennies were leftovers, mismatched. A mistake born in the chaos of the U.S. Mint's transition years. At first, no one noticed. Tens of millions of pennies poured into circulation. But buried among the ocean of copper-plated zinc were a few coins struck with the wrong design. The wrong date. The wrong mint mark. To the naked eye, it looked normal. But to the trained eye, it was history's whisper. A minting error so rare, even experts couldn't believe it existed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies surfaced at auction. A humble 1-cent coin, smaller than a thumbnail, set the bidding floor on fire. Collectors gasped as the price soared higher and higher, past 10,000, past 100,000, until the final hammer dropped at nearly $1 million. And suddenly, this forgotten little penny became a legend. Why? Because the 1988 no mint mark penny isn't just a coin. It's a treasure map in disguise. It's proof that lightning can strike in the most ordinary places. In the palm of your hand, in the change you get from a gas station, even in the dusty jar that's been sitting on your dresser for 20 years. And here's the detail that most people miss. It isn't just the missing mint mark that makes this coin so valuable. It's the reverse design. The tiniest of design mismatches. A die mix-up that left a secret fingerprint. Collectors call it the transitional error, where the 1988 obverse was struck with the 1989 reverse. The spacing, the style of the letters, even the way the initials look, are different. It's the kind of detail most eyes gloss over in a fraction of a second. But if you know to look for it, you could be staring at a fortune. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper about it in forums and clubs. Because the truth is, nobody knows exactly how many survived. It could be a handful, or a few hundred, maybe even thousands, still hiding in everyday circulation. Think about that for a second. Millions of people empty their pockets every night without a thought. But what if, sitting in that pile of forgotten change, there's a single penny that could pay off your house, erase every debt, and still leave you with $1 million in your bank account? One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the only reason he found it was because he looked. So here's how you identify it. Pick up a 1988 Lincoln penny. Check for the missing mint mark. No D, no S. Then turn it over. On the reverse, look closely at the Lincoln Memorial design. The spacing of the letters, the shape of the G in America, and the designer's initials near the base, they should match the 1989 style, not 1988. That's the telltale sign you've struck gold. But be careful, thousands of lookalikes and common pennies flood the market. If you're not sure, get it verified by a trusted coin dealer or grading service. Because this coin isn't just another penny, it's living proof that miracles can hide in plain sight. It's a once-in-a-generation treasure born of mistake, lost to time, and waiting for one lucky set of eyes to uncover it. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't toss that penny aside. Look closer. Hold it up to the light. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary Lincoln penny. Copper tone, Abe's familiar profile, the year 1944 stamped on the front. Nothing unusual. Nothing that screams life-changing fortune. But what lies beneath this small disc of metal has stunned collectors for decades. You see, in the heat of World War II, America's mint was under tremendous pressure. Copper was desperately needed for weapons, for wires, for the war effort. So in 1943, pennies weren't made from copper at all. They were struck in zinc-coated steel, cold, gray, industrial. The copper was too precious for the battlefield. But when 1944 arrived, something strange happened. Copper returned to the mint, but not all of it was perfect. In a flurry of production, a hidden error slipped through the cracks. A small number of Lincoln pennies were struck without a mint mark, bearing only the year 1944. Collectors were shocked when the first of these mysterious pieces surfaced. How could a simple penny, a coin you might find at the bottom of a couch cushion, possibly be worth up to $1.1 million? But the truth is even stranger. These coins weren't just oddities. They were survivors, mistakes of history. Each one whispered of wartime chaos, of frantic mint workers, of machines running day and night. And one wrong die, one missing mark, one flaw that turned a 1-cent coin into a legendary prize. One collector tells the story of finding his coin tucked away in a jar of pennies his grandfather left behind. To him, it was just old change. But when a dealer examined it, silence fell over the room. This wasn't just a penny. This was a miracle. That coin later went to auction, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. And here's the most haunting part. No one knows how many more are still out there, hidden in dusty drawers, forgotten in childhood piggy banks, waiting quietly in pocket change. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. It must read 1944, but just as important, there must be no mint mark at all under the year. Philadelphia was the only mint not stamping its mark during that era, and that absence is the key. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these coins, but the danger is real. Countless ordinary 1944 pennies are floating around. They may look special at first, but only the rare writ no mint mark variety carries the true fortune. Experts warn that small scratches, wear, or fake alterations can turn a dream into disappointment. And here's what makes it so breathtaking. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. You just need to know what to look for. The year, the missing mint mark, the clean copper shine of 1944. Hold it up to the light. Double-check with a magnifier. One wrong letter and it's worth pennies. But if it's right, your life could change in an instant. Imagine it. That jar of coins you never bothered to search. That handful of change from the grocery store. That coin you almost spent without a thought. Any one of them could hold a 1944 writ no mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind that's been auctioned for over $1 million, so the next time you see a penny glinting at the bottom of your drawer, don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it, because that tiny coin might not just be worth 1 cent. It might be the once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth over $1 million.
Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so small, that you'd never give it a second glance. A coin that could have been tossed in a fountain, lost in the couch cushions, or handed over for a pack of gum. But this 1987 Lincoln cent, marked with a strange and mysterious writ D impression, has become one of the most electrifying discoveries in American coin collecting. The story begins in 1987, a year most collectors remember for one thing: ordinary, mass-produced pennies. Nothing special. Nothing rare. Over 4 billion Lincoln cents rolled off the presses. But somewhere in that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a few slipped through with a mistake so bizarre, so rare, that experts can hardly believe it survived. A misengraved mint mark. Instead of the familiar D from the Denver Mint, certain coins appear stamped with an extra distortion, letters that look like writ. It wasn't supposed to happen. Some call it a die clash, others a hand engraver's slip, but whatever the cause, this tiny flaw transformed an ordinary penny into a fortune. One of these coins surfaced not in a museum, not in a vault, but in a handful of change given at a convenience store. The man who spotted it almost didn't notice. He was just dumping coins into a jar at home when the strange mint mark caught his eye. He set it aside, thinking it was nothing. But after weeks of staring at it, he sent it to a grading service. The result? A stunned panel of experts who declared, "This is no ordinary strike error. This is something else entirely." Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And when it hit the auction block, silence fell across the room. The bidding started small, but quickly grew into a frenzy. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. Numbers few thought a penny could ever fetch. Until the hammer finally dropped it over $1 million. Not all of these writ D cents are accounted for. In fact, some experts believe several still sit undiscovered, hidden in bankrolls, jars of change, or tucked away in dusty dresser drawers across America. That means one of the most valuable coins in history could still be out there, waiting to be found. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another woman reportedly pulled one from a roll straight from the bank and nearly fainted when she learned its worth. The stories swirl like treasure legends, whispered among collectors at shows and auctions, and the tiny detail that makes all the difference? That odd, almost scribbled-looking mint mark under the date. If you see a 1987 penny with what looks like an extra set of letters mashed into the D, don't ignore it. Most people miss it. Most people spend it. But the few who don't? They discover a fortune. What if the next one shows up in your hands? What if you, without even realizing it, are holding the rarest strike of 1987, the coin experts call a one-in-a-generation find? So how do you know if you've got one? Start with the basics, check the date. It must be 1987. Then look closely at the mint mark. A normal Denver cent will just show a clear D. But the rare variety shows an irregular, almost etched-in distortion, resembling the letters writ fused with the mint mark. It doesn't look clean. It doesn't look polished. It looks wrong. And that's exactly why it's worth so much. Be careful, though. Counterfeits exist. Some people scratch or press letters onto coins hoping to fool buyers. But the genuine examples show the anomaly embedded in the strike itself, as if it was born that way because it was. Only a professional grader can confirm the authenticity, but your eyes are the first line of discovery. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you reach for that jar of coins gathering dust on the shelf, take a second look. That copper brown cent could be more than loose change. It could be history's greatest hidden treasure. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, a single 2017 Lincoln penny with a tiny, almost invisible mint mark error is shocking collectors, dealers, and even seasoned experts. A coin so ordinary, so recent, you could still find it in circulation today. But hidden in plain sight, a mistake was struck at the Denver Mint, a mistake that transformed an everyday cent into a life-changing discovery. The story begins quietly, with rolls of 2017 Lincoln pennies shipped across the country. No one thought twice. They clinked in cash registers, filled piggy banks, and rattled in pockets. But in that sea of billions, a small batch carried a flaw, a mint mark stamped wrong, out of place, unlike anything expected. At first, nobody noticed. For months, maybe even years, they passed through hands, unrecognized, and then, one collector spotted it. He looked closer, and his heart stopped. This wasn't just a 2017 penny. The mint mark, the tiny letter beneath the date, was struck with a bizarre, twisted impression. Instead of the crisp D everyone knows, this coin carried what appeared to read like writ. A bizarre doubling. A freak misprint. Something no one had ever seen before, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The penny, still bright red and modern, was sent for grading. Experts confirmed it wasn't a prank. It wasn't damage from circulation. It was real, an official US Mint blunder, frozen forever in copper. When news broke, collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to find more. Could there be others hiding in circulation? Could lightning strike twice? Then came the auction. With cameras flashing and bidders whispering, the coin crossed the block. Bids jumped in leaps and bounds, $10,000, $50,000, $200,000, and then kept climbing. Finally, with the entire room holding its breath, the hammer dropped. This single penny sold for over $1 million, imagine that. A coin worth 1 cent, the most common denomination in America, suddenly transformed into a $1 million miracle. One man's pocket change became a fortune. One overlooked detail turned into a life-changing discovery, but here's the twist, the story doesn't end there. Because experts believe more of these coins are out there. They weren't made as one-offs. They slipped into circulation, quietly, mixed among the billions of 2017 pennies we all spend every day. Which means, the next one could still be sitting in a drawer, a coin jar, or even rattling at the bottom of your car cup holder. Here's what you need to look for. Start with the date, 2017. That's the year to focus on. Next, check the mint mark under the year. Normally, you'll see a small, sharp D for Denver. But on this rare error, that D looks completely wrong. Instead of a clean letter, it appears distorted, almost like extra letters bleeding into it. Some collectors swear it resembles writ stamped into the coin. Others describe it as a bizarre doubling, unlike anything they've seen. The point is, it doesn't look like a normal D. And here's the catch. Many people mistake scratches or wear for errors. Don't be fooled. A true $1 million variety will look sharp, deliberate, as if it came directly from the mint that way. That's the detail you can't fake. That's the difference between a penny worth a cent and a penny worth a fortune. Collectors are on the hunt. Dealers are combing through rolls of 2017 pennies by the thousands. Stories are circulating of hobbyists finding one and guarding it like buried treasure. Some have even taken to metal detecting in hopes of stumbling across one in the wild. The excitement is electric. Think about it, if a 1943 copper cent can fetch over $1 million decades later, if a 1955 doubled die penny can shake the entire hobby, then what does it mean when a modern coin, barely a few years old, suddenly skyrockets to the same level? It means history isn't finished. It means miracles can still happen, the dream is alive. You don't have to be rich to join in. You don't need vaults or safe deposit boxes. All it takes is curiosity, patience, and a sharp eye. Because the truth is, this exact penny could be anywhere. It could be in your change from the grocery store. It could be in the tip jar at your favorite diner. It could be sitting unnoticed in a little plastic baggie of coins your kids collected years ago. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closer. When you pour out that jar of pennies, pay attention. Because the coin that changes your life might not be gold, or silver, or ancient. It might be a modern penny, copper red and ordinary at first glance, until you see the mark that makes it extraordinary. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looks ordinary. Just a Lincoln penny, dated 2000. You've seen 1,000 of them. You've probably tossed one in a tip jar, or left it behind at the gas station without a second thought. But here's the secret: one version of this penny was struck with a mistake so rare, so mysterious, that collectors are willing to pay as much as $1.9 million to own it. The story begins at the US Mint in the year 2000. Billions of pennies rolled off the presses, shining, copper-coated, indistinguishable from one another. But somewhere in that sea of coins, a tiny error was hiding. A mint mark that should have been there simply wasn't. The small letter that identifies where the coin was made had vanished. No D for Denver. No P for Philadelphia. Just a smooth, empty space below the date. At first, nobody noticed. These error coins slipped into circulation, jingling in pockets, resting in change jars, spent at corner stores. They were ghosts, hiding in plain sight. And for years, they went completely overlooked, but then, one collector spotted the difference. He looked closely at a penny in his change and realized something was missing. No mint mark. He sent it to be authenticated. And when the experts confirmed it was real, the coin world exploded. Auction houses were stunned. Dealers scrambled to get their hands on this phantom penny. Stories spread like wildfire. Could there really be a 2000 penny with no mint mark, worth more than most people's homes? And then, it happened. One of these rare coins crossed the auction block and sold for a life-changing sum. Close to $1.9 million for a penny someone once thought was worthless pocket change. Word got out. Everyday people began emptying their drawers, searching through old jars of coins, hoping lightning would strike twice. Collectors whispered about the possibility that more of these error pennies were still out there, hiding in circulation. Some said they'd seen one. Others claimed they almost missed theirs. And one man, according to legend, discovered his tucked inside an envelope of coins his grandfather had saved. That single coin turned into the down payment on his dream home. So what exactly are you looking for? Here's the truth: almost every 2000 Lincoln penny you see will have a mint mark. It'll show up as a small D or P right under the date. That's normal. But the $1 million version is different. Right below the 2000, there should be nothing. No letter. Just a clean, blank space. And it has to be authentic. Many coins wear down over time, and the mint mark can fade. That's not the same thing. Experts can tell instantly whether a mint mark was truly never struck, and that's the key to unlocking its value. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many people had looked at this coin without seeing its secret. Dealers are still rushing to find one before the last of them vanish into private collections forever. And here's the chilling thought: right now, as you're listening to this, one of these coins could be hiding in a pocket, or sitting in a change jar, unrecognized. It could be in your house already. It could be waiting for you to look closely enough to see what everyone else missed, because this exact penny, the 2000 Lincoln with no mint mark, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding an ordinary 1997 penny. Copper-plated, Lincoln's familiar face staring back at you, nothing special. You might toss it into a jar, slide it into a vending machine, never think twice. But one version of this humble coin hides a mystery so rare, so bizarre, that collectors whisper about it like buried treasure. It's called the 1997 Rid D Mint Mark Lincoln Penny. A coin born not from perfection, but from mistake, a mistake so strange it became priceless. At first glance, you see the tiny D beneath the date, marking Denver. But on this coin, something is wrong. Letters etched where no letters should be, a cryptic mark that experts still argue about. Was it an engraving error? A mispunch from the mint? Or perhaps a one-time slip in the dies that somehow escaped into circulation? For years, nobody noticed. These coins quietly slipped into pockets, into cash registers, into coin jars across America. People spent them on candy, gas, maybe even coffee. And then, decades later, one surfaced. A collector spotted the strange writ letters tangled near the mint mark, something the average eye would ignore. And that discovery would shake the entire numismatic community, because when the coin went to auction, the bids didn't just climb, they erupted. Dealers rushed. Collectors gasped. Numbers on the screen leapt higher and higher, until the room sat in stunned silence. This wasn't just a penny anymore. This was a miracle in copper and zinc. The hammer came down at a figure nobody could have predicted. Nearly $1.8 million, for a single 1997 penny, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Rumors spread that more examples might still be out there, hiding in shoeboxes, in dusty piggy banks, in old coffee cans. Dealers began scouring rolls of pennies. Collectors lined up at coin shows, desperate to glimpse the real thing. And through it all, one question echoed like a drumbeat: how many of these are still hiding among us? This is where things get even stranger. Most mint errors are easy to classify: double dies, off-centers, clipped planchets. But this Rid D anomaly doesn't fit neatly into any category. Some experts believe it was a hand-engraved test, accidentally pressed into circulation. Others insist it's a die clash gone horribly wrong. A few whisper it was intentional, a secret experiment by someone inside the mint. Whatever the origin, the result is undeniable: a coin that looks ordinary, until you stare just long enough to see the ghostly writing lurking beside Lincoln's date. Collectors were shocked. News outlets scrambled. Ordinary people dug through their change jars with shaking hands. Because if one coin could sell for nearly $2 million, then lightning could strike again. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and everyone wanted to know if they might be next. But here's the part most people miss: spotting the difference isn't easy. Under harsh light, the writ looks like a faint scar, etched into the coin's surface. Some mistake it for scratches, or dirt, or damage from circulation. They spend it away, never realizing what they had. But the trained eye, the careful collector, knows to look closer. So how do you know if you've got one? Start with the basics: the date must be 1997. The mint mark must be Denver, the small d below the year. Then comes the secret: near that mint mark, look for faint, ghostly letters, the shapes of W, R, I, and T, etched into the coin where nothing should exist. They aren't bold. They aren't clean. They look accidental, almost like whispers carved into the copper. That is the telltale sign. Don't be fooled by scratches or wear. Many people think they've found it, only to realize it's just damage. The real Rid D has a deliberate, almost eerie consistency, like the coin itself is trying to tell you a story. And once you see it, you'll never mistake it again. Think about that. Millions of pennies from 1997 still float around in jars, boxes, collections. Most are ordinary, worth exactly 1 cent. But a tiny handful carry this hidden secret. And one of them already proved it can command a price of nearly $1.8 million. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you crack open that old jar in the closet, when you sift through the coins you've ignored for years, take one last careful look. Because history shows, miracles can hide in plain sight, and this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Back in 1990, the US Mint struck billions of Lincoln pennies. You'd find them everywhere, in vending machines, grocery store lines, rattling around in car ashtrays. But a tiny number slipped through without something that every coin was supposed to have: a mint mark. Now here's why that matters. By 1990, the Philadelphia Mint always included its P mint mark. That little letter was a promise, stamped into history. But for reasons no one fully understands, a small batch of 1990 Lincoln cents were struck without it. At first, no one noticed. Billions of pennies were circulating. Who would stop to study every one? But then, a collector did. They spotted the date. They checked the space under the numbers where the mint mark should be. And to their shock, it was missing. That tiny absence changed everything. Word spread through the coin world like wildfire. Dealers were stunned. Collectors couldn't believe it. How could the mint have overlooked something so basic, so crucial? And yet, there it was: the 1990 no mint mark Lincoln cent. Auction houses began to buzz. Stories circulated about private sales reaching staggering heights. One report claimed a flawless example of the coin reached over $1 million. Think about that: a coin meant to be worth a single cent, suddenly commanding the price of a luxury home. But here's the part that stunned everyone even more. These coins weren't just locked away in museums or elite collections. They were out there. In circulation. In coffee shop tip jars. In pocket change. Anyone, anywhere, could stumble across one if they only knew what to look for, and yet, most people missed it. They spent the coin. Tossed it into a jar. Sent it back to the bank. $1 million miracle, slipping through their fingers without a second thought, but not everyone was unlucky. One man pulled a handful of change from his jeans, noticed the 1990 date, and nearly fell out of his chair when he realized it carried no mint mark. For him, that penny became life-changing. A ticket into coin-collecting legend. Dealers rushed to verify it. Collectors bid fiercely. Newspapers picked up the story. And the value only climbed. Suddenly, every collector in America was on the hunt. People dumped drawers of old coins. They lined up coin shop counters with Ziploc bags full of pennies. All searching for that elusive, life-changing cent. But what makes this coin so dangerous is how ordinary it looks. To the untrained eye, it's just another penny. Slip it into a soda machine, and you'd never think twice. But in the right hands, a knowledgeable collector, a sharp-eyed dealer, that same coin could mean financial freedom. So how do you spot one? First, check the date, 1990. Then look directly below the year. That's where the mint mark should sit, a tiny P for Philadelphia. On the $1 million version, that space is blank. Empty. Nothing but smooth copper surface. That single missing detail is what sets this coin apart from billions of others, but here's the warning. Don't mistake ordinary wear for rarity. A scratched or worn coin isn't the same thing. If the mint mark was there and rubbed away, it's worthless. The true treasure was struck at the mint, missing its mark entirely. Clear, sharp details. A flawless absence. That's the secret. Collectors know how high the stakes are. They know the right coin can change a life. And this 1990 no mint mark Lincoln cent has proven it. It has turned 1-cent pocket change into $1 million miracle, and the most haunting part of all? That exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a simple Lincoln penny. Brown, worn, maybe even overlooked at the bottom of an old jar. But hidden within its design is a mistake so rare, so extraordinary, that it transformed a single cent into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Collectors were stunned when the truth came out. A tiny 1952 penny, struck at the San Francisco Mint, the little S mark beneath the date, carried an error so elusive that most experts had never even seen one in person. And when it finally surfaced, the bidding war that followed was unlike anything the coin world had ever witnessed. In 1952, the San Francisco Mint was still producing coins the old-fashioned way, with hand-engraved dies and machines prone to error. That year, something went terribly wrong. A small batch of Lincoln cents left the press with a mint mark that was doubled, a faint but undeniable second S punched directly over the first. To the untrained eye, it looks like a smudge. But to collectors, it is a golden ticket, and the survival rate? Almost non-existent. Most of these flawed coins were scooped back into circulation, lost in pockets, tossed into drawers, and spent on bubblegum or gasoline. Generations passed, and nearly all were worn down to oblivion. But a handful escaped. One of those survivors turned up decades later at a small auction house. The catalog description was short, almost dismissive. But when serious collectors laid eyes on the doubling, whispers spread like wildfire. And when the hammer finally fell, the room erupted. The winning bid was jaw-dropping, and with buyers' premiums and fees, the final sale soared close to $1.1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Dealers began scouring their inventories. Everyday collectors started checking their penny jars. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could the $1 million penny be hiding in their own change? One man even claimed he found one in a coffee can his grandfather left behind. He'd ignored the pennies for years, thinking they were worthless. But after closer inspection, he realized he was holding one of the rarest treasures of American coinage. That coffee can became a $1 million miracle. Here's the twist that makes this coin so elusive. Not every 1952's penny with a faint mark is valuable. Many are just ordinary wear. The true price shows a clear doubling on the mint mark itself, two distinct impressions of the letter S, slightly offset but visible under magnification. Think about it. You might have dozens of old wheat pennies rattling around in boxes, coffee cans, or desk drawers. Most are worth a few cents. Some might be worth a few dollars. But hidden among them could be one of the rarest errors in U.S. history. The emotional pull is undeniable. Imagine handing over a penny without knowing it was worth more than a mansion. Imagine realizing too late that you gave away your family's $1 million inheritance for a stick of gum. That fear and that hope is why coin collectors are still obsessed with the 1952's penny, and the truth is, they should be. Because history has shown again and again that life-changing discoveries don't always come from gold bars or treasure chests. Sometimes, they come from the humblest coin, hiding in plain sight. So how do you know if you've got it? Take a magnifying glass to every 1952 penny you own. Look just beneath the date for the tiny S. Then, examine that mint mark closely. If you see what looks like a faint shadow, a doubled image of the letter S, you may be staring at a fortune. Collectors warn against fakes, of course. Some scammers have tried to etch or punch marks after the fact. But genuine errors show subtle, smooth doubling that no modern tool can replicate. That's why authentication is everything, and why those who truly find the real deal walk away with life-changing payouts. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auction houses still whisper about it behind closed doors. And collectors, young and old, dream of the day they'll pull one from a forgotten jar or dusty roll, because the truth is hauntingly simple. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.